Now, according to Bob Nightengale, he said in USA Today, the White Sox would command a package greater than what the Padres gave up for Juan Soto at the 2022 deadline.
Which wasn't that great. I don't remember.
So back in 2022, the Padres traded 6 players.
I remember when that story broke.
Luke Voigt, C.J. Abrams, Mackenzie Gore, Robert Hassel III, James Wood, and Jarlin Susana to the Nationals for Soto and Josh Bell. And Woods was their number 1 prospect. Hassel and Susana were both top 10. I think it was maybe more in terms of the number of people that would be included in the trade.
Probably. And,
because I do feel like the White Sox would want 4 or 5 guys. But, who knows? Depending on how high they're looking, the Phillies might be out and might instead go with somebody that's a little cheaper in that sense. But I like the fact that we're continuing to hear this as a rumor.
Yeah, it is enticing. Especially because of the club control aspect and not a lot of money. You're betting against injury, which is a risky game. But I think, when you're a young 25-year-old that hits 38 home runs in Major League Baseball, plays good enough defense and has a cannon of an arm, there's reason to be intrigued by that, to add a young, lockdown center fielder to this core for the next. Because the reality is, obviously, they're World Series contenders this year. They're going to be World Series contenders most likely for the next 2 to 3 seasons while this core's together. So the idea of adding Robert to that, and, Johan Rojas is fine, but he's not, his job can be stolen. And if you have a chance to do that, it's really damn exciting. So to see his name keep coming up, I'm one that I would bet against the injury thing.
Yeah.
For better or for worse. I fully know that it could all go up in flames. But I think the talent is worth the risk. So I'm all in. If they do it, I'd love it.
Luis is under contract through 2027. And of course, his numbers are remarkable as a great power hitter. 188, 220, 479, a defensive B WAR of -0.2 through 12 games. He has dealt with injuries. I do also believe, to be honest, that sometimes your injuries plagued career can be changed with the right environment, the right coaching, the right team. And I feel like if you come into a team like the Phillies, which is a great clubhouse, the staff does a good job of managing guys, keeping them healthy. You don't have to play every day. You can get a day off here and there, unless you're Nick Castellanos, apparently. And you can have the opportunity to be a part of a team where maybe even mentally you're just happier. Those things go a long way for your overall physical health as well. But you did hear one nugget about another name that was brought into the mix in addition.
Yeah, Jim in Jim Bowden's piece, he also named Tommy Pham, who didn't get signed until what? Basically the second week of the season?
Tommy throws some.
He was a very late signing, meaning every single team could have had him for nothing but cash. Doesn't seem like an obvious fit with this locker room. This locker room, on the inverse of that, is probably strong enough to absorb a Tommy Pham type. Okay. But this is a guy who, once got stabbed outside of a club somewhere. He got into a fight with Jock Peterson over fantasy football. He was ready to fight everybody last week and got the Hardo Award of the Week, saying, I train all offseason for situations like this to fuck somebody up. Okay, man. It was a play at the plate. Life goes on. It's baseball. Not saying I don't like a tough guy on my team, but I don't know if Tommy Pham.
That's a different type of
He's
tough.
not going to cost you anything. Tommy Pham will essentially be free. So if you're looking to add without giving up anything, sure, I could see the rationale. But I don't know. Tommy Pham doesn't do a whole lot for me. Does he make the team better? Maybe slightly. Barely moves the needle kind of thing. I don't know, but Jim Bowden mentioned him. It was in his story today on The Athletic. 30 things I'm hearing with the trade deadline 50 days away. So he mentioned Robert, which is great, but he also mentions Tommy Pham.
I mean, listen, Tommy Pham would fit in well with the good-looking side of the Phillies because he's a good-looking man, and this is a good-looking team.
Well, thank God.
So he clears that.
Okay, number one hurdle cleared. What's the second hurdle?
I mean, some of his crazy takes away from that. Don't get me wrong, but some people like a little crazy. But Tommy Pham, I think, just looking at his numbers on the season, he's got so far 12 RBIs, 3 home runs, His average is 280. His OPS is 733. Another guy, it's always tough with the White Sox in general because you just don't know how much of it is a circumstance of their environment. Like him being in the clubhouse talking about, I fight guys all off season and training, like I fight whoever, whatever he was saying, could just also be because you are super fed up and tired of losing with the White Sox. And maybe with a better team, you won't be out here getting stabbed outside the club or ready to fight people or, talking about all the UFC or whoever you're fighting in the off season. So again, maybe the clubhouse would be strong enough to absorb it, but I am really surprised that name came up. But if you can get him for cheap, like I could see the
He's
Phillies.
Not going to cost you anything. The only thing that might increase his value for the White Sox some is that he's so cheap. Maybe a couple teams are calling about him.
He's another 36-year-old, so you get another aging player as well. That's another factor. He is on the 10-day IL as of now. So interesting things to keep an eye on. But yeah, I do imagine Dave, he said Sabre Day thinks he's good. Yes. I do feel like you do have to keep in mind the context of some of these guys' teams. You're on an awful team if you're miserable versus being with a team like the Phillies, who is off to the hottest start in decades and setting all these records that date back since the modern era. That could change things drastically for a Tommy Pham. I don't know. But I do feel like the good thing is the Phillies are shopping outfielders, bullpen arms is possibly at play as well. So there's some positives to come from all of that.
Yeah, they're adding. I mean,
they're definitely adding.
Dombrowski's going to go all in. I fully expect that. And, maybe it's probably looking too much into it, but maybe moving guys up to the Jersey Shore level. Maybe they're going to move Crawford up maybe to showcase some more at the go from high A to double A in the next 50 days. They might be internally, because I think Justin Crawford, if you're going to go all in, is probably the top guy that's going to be dealt because he's been playing really well this year. It's a credit to the farm system. But maybe some of those internal minor league system moves are with trades in mind. The Phillies are definitely going for it. I don't think there's any doubt about that.